120 degrees, that is the temperature gap between Fairbanks, Alaska at negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit in Dallas. Texas sitting at 80 degrees Fahrenheit right now on the same Tuesday morning, and when the atmosphere gets stretched that far in one direction, it does not stay that way for long. It snaps back, and this week it is snapping back hard. Snapping back means this meteorologists are already calling this the biggest weather pattern change of all of 2026, with severe weather risks flagged for almost a dozen states stretching from Texas all the way back to Ohio. And that window is not one day, it is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and potentially Monday too. And here is the number that should stop everyone in the Ohio Valley and Southern Plains cold 70 miles per hour. That is the wind gust speed being modeled for Wednesday's storm system. Alongside 2-inch hail and a tornado threat across Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And Wednesday is actually not even the biggest day of the week. Which piece of this week lands on your doorstep depends completely on your zip code. So let's go city by city and day by day right now, starting with what is already making a mess for people. This morning, before most folks have even poured their first cup of coffee. Here is the deal with today. There are active winter weather advisories right now from parts of Virginia and the Carolinas all the way up through parts of Massachusetts, with winter storm warnings mixed in across the mountains of West Virginia, and if you thought winter had already packed its bags and left. This morning is its way of saying not so fast. Snow is showing up in the blue from Charlottesville through D.C. and Baltimore, pushing north through tonight, but the ice is the sneakier part of this story. South central Pennsylvania, western Maryland, and the mountains of West Virginia and northern Virginia are the spots where the system keeps overnight travelers honest. And the difference between 1/10 of an inch of ice and 1/4 inch is the difference between a slippery commute and power going out. Washington, D.C. is at 34 degrees Fahrenheit today, with a heavy mix building in Baltimore at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, with a trace to 1 inch of snow already on the ground. Philadelphia at 32 degrees Fahrenheit with wintry mix possible. Pittsburgh at 35 degrees Fahrenheit and cold, and the entire mid-Atlantic corridor needs to treat every bridge and overpass as a suspect this morning, because those freeze solid well before the road surface temperature even thinks about dropping. On the snowfall side, the highest totals from this system land across down east Maine through New Hampshire, Vermont, and north central New York State. 1 to 3 inches is the safe bet. With some pockets pushing toward 4 to 5, Albany gets heavy wet snow. That classic 10-to-1 ratio stuff that stacks up fast Portland and Augusta. Maine are in the heavy wet snow window for Tuesday afternoon and evening, and New Hampshire and Vermont. You have not seen the last of winter quite yet this season. Boston is at 24 to 27 degrees Fahrenheit today, cold, clear, and bracing New York City at 30 degrees Fahrenheit and quiet for now. But the wintry mix is on its way tonight. Buffalo at 28 degrees Fahrenheit with 1 to 2 inches already on the ground, and for the I-95 corridor from D.C. to Boston. The nuisance level is real but manageable. The serious icing concern stays west of the corridor. In those mountain communities and south central Pennsylvania valleys where this kind of setup causes the most trouble, drop your city in the comments right now and tell us what it looks like out your window. Snow, ice, wintry mix. Or are you sitting somewhere warm and dry watching all of this from a safe distance? We read every one of these by region. And if enough people check in from a specific city, that city gets its own dedicated segment in tomorrow's update. Your comment genuinely shapes what we cover next. Cross south of D.C. and the wintry picture fades out fast. Charlotte at 55 degrees Fahrenheit with no storm concerns. Nashville at 53 degrees Fahrenheit and mild. Atlanta at 53 to 61 degrees Fahrenheit and feeling like spring already. Miami at 77 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny Tampa at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And that warmth sitting across the southeast right now is not just pleasant weather. It is the fuel that is about to feed one of the most active, severe weather sequences we have seen to start any year. Chicago is at 35 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit and quiet today. St. Louis at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Indianapolis at 38 degrees Fahrenheit and cold. Cincinnati at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Columbus at 36 degrees Fahrenheit in the Ohio Valley has a deceptively calm Tuesday morning. But here is what you need to understand. This corridor is sitting dead center in the flooding zone that is about to get loaded up with storm after storm after storm for 7 to 10 days. Straight today's quiet as borrowed time. Plain and simple. Kansas City is at 50 degrees Fahrenheit today. Omaha at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Minneapolis at 30 degrees Fahrenheit with a trace of snow. Des Moines at 40 degrees Fahrenheit and cold. And here is what makes the upper Midwest and Plains interesting this week. The exact track of Friday's low is going to decide whether you end up on the severe weather side or the winter weather backside. And the models are still actively arguing about that track as of this morning. Down in Texas and Oklahoma, the severe weather fuel is already running wide open. Dallas at 73 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit with heavy rain and thunderstorms on the way. Houston at 72 to 81 degrees Fahrenheit with flooding rain incoming. Austin at 76 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit with a very warm and juicy atmosphere. Oklahoma City at 65 degrees Fahrenheit and still deceptively quiet. And that contrast between sunny Oklahoma and stormy Houston right now is the classic tale of a setup that is loading up before it flips the switch. New Orleans at 70 degrees Fahrenheit with rain increasing. Memphis at 55 degrees Fahrenheit with rain on the way. And Fort Smith, Arkansas. I want to talk to you directly. You are right back in the overlap zone this week, sitting inside Wednesday's severe weather corridor and the highest rainfall accumulation corridor simultaneously. And when those two threats land on the same city in the same week, that is not a coincidence. That is a rough few days coming your way. Denver is at a remarkable 69 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit today, and that is not a typo. That is 20 to 25 degrees above normal for early March in Denver. Las Vegas at 70 degrees Fahrenheit and dry Phoenix and Tucson at 78 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny Los Angeles at 64 to 71 degrees Fahrenheit. And all of that western warmth is exactly the ridge that creates the severe weather setup on the other side of the country. So enjoy it out there, but know that your sunshine is connected to their storms. Salt Lake City is at 50 degrees Fahrenheit today with 5 to 10 inches of mountain snow incoming for the ranges above the valley. Seattle at 56 degrees Fahrenheit with light rain. Portland at 55 degrees Fahrenheit with rain. Boise at 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And mild in the Pacific Northwest and Rockies. Energy coming off the western mountains this week feeds directly into the storm systems rolling through the plains on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday, March 4th, is where this week shifts into a completely different gear. The Storm Prediction Center has locked in a severe weather risk covering almost a dozen states from Texas and Oklahoma and western Arkansas all the way through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. That is a massive footprint. And while Wednesday is not the biggest day, it is the one that kicks off a multi-day sequence that does not quit until at least next Sunday. On Wednesday, the main hazards are large hail up to 2 inches across and wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, and a tornado or two cannot be ruled out, especially in Missouri, Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, and north central Texas, where the surface moisture is richest if you are in any of those areas. Wednesday is the day to have your county level alerts actually turned on with the volume up, not just sitting idle on your phone. Also on Wednesday, and this part does not get nearly enough attention, there is a marginal risk for excessive rainfall running from the Dallas-Fort Worth area all the way north through St. Louis, Little Rock, Fort Smith, and up to Indianapolis, and a flooding risk in an area that is about to get hit by multiple storm rounds over 7 days is exactly how communities end up underwater in spots that thought they were just outside the worst of it. Then Thursday, March 5th, brings scattered showers and thunderstorms from the Great Lakes back into the southern plains, not expected to be a major severe weather day for most areas. But Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas are watching for isolated hail and a couple of tornadoes late Thursday into early Friday, and simultaneously. That storm system starts pushing snow and ice back into central and northern New England for Thursday evening. Friday, March 6th is the headliner, and when a meteorologist says one day out of a whole week looks way more impactful, that is not casual language. Friday's severe weather zone stretches from South Texas all the way north to southern Iowa, just south of Des Moines, covering DFW, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, Kansas City, and reaching into southern Illinois and Indiana, and both models are already hinting at a potential upgrade to enhanced risk as we get closer. Friday's setup has a 999 millibar low developing, which in plain terms means a powerful, organized storm system, not a garden variety low. The wind shear Friday is going to be considerably stronger than Wednesday. The moisture feed is deeper, and the instability is higher. This is the kind of combination that produces organized supercells capable of significant tornadoes, not just a quick spin up and done. Dallas and Fort Worth 3 days in a row, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And on Friday specifically, you are looking at a potential enhanced risk upgrade. Do not let Wednesday lull you into thinking you have already seen the worst of it, because Friday is shaping up as the day that actually delivers the most organized tornado threat of the three. And that is worth treating differently than an ordinary severe weather day. Friday also carries a winter side on the cold back door of that 999 millibar low. Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, extreme western South Dakota, and Nebraska are watching for legitimate accumulating snow as the system tracks northeast. So Friday is a true dual threat day. Supercell, severe weather on the warm southern flank. Snowstorm on the cold northern backside, both coming from the same low. And Friday is not the end of the parade. Saturday has another slight risk already posted for North Texas, DFW and Texarkana. The European model is showing a large cluster of thunderstorms Saturday through Texas, Oklahoma, and into Kentucky. Then Sunday could continue with severe weather from the Ohio Valley back down into deep South Texas. And then Monday and Tuesday of next week are the days the forecast community is eyeing most closely of all. Here is the community check-in for this week if you are in Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma, Arkansas, or anywhere in the Ohio Valley flooding corridor right now. Drop your city in the comments and tell us which of these threats has you most concerned the severe weather Wednesday and Friday, the multi-day flooding rain, or that still uncertain Tuesday, March 10th potential. We genuinely use those responses to shape tomorrow's coverage. Now, flooding is the part of this week that gets underreported right up until the point where it is too late to do anything about it. So let's be direct about what the models are showing: a corridor running from eastern Oklahoma and the DFW area through the Ozarks. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi is about to get absolutely hammered by repeated rounds of heavy rain over the next 7 to 10 days. Here is the math that turns a rainy week into a flood disaster. The first storm round saturates the soil completely. The second round hits a day or two later on ground that has zero capacity left. Every inch runs off sideways into creeks and rivers, and by the time the third and fourth rounds arrive later in the week, local rivers that looked fine Tuesday morning are running well above their banks by the weekend. The specific flooding hotspots the models are highlighting: Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma at the top of the list, then the DFW corridor, then the Ozarks of southern Missouri, then Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, and western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. At the southern end, every city in that corridor needs to be checking local creek and river levels today, not Friday when it is too late to do anything about it. Memphis at 55 degrees Fahrenheit today, with rain incoming. Louisville at 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and cold Columbus at 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and quiet Cincinnati at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and for all four of those cities. The calm you are feeling right now is genuinely the lull before a multi-day storm, if any stream or creek near you was already running on the high side before today. Take that seriously right now, because the repeated rain rounds are coming and they're not asking for permission. Or here is something that is not getting nearly enough attention yet, and it is the part of this forecast that is going to matter most. Beyond this week, there is a 15 to 20% probability right now of a significant severe weather outbreak, possibly even a tornado outbreak. Around Tuesday, March 10th, and that number is not a throwaway. That is the forecast community saying they are watching a real and developing signal. The March 10th setup involves an Alberta clipper dropping out of Canada while warm. Unstable air simultaneously surges north from the Gulf, and when those two air masses collide with the very tight pressure gradient that creates, you get intense wind shear layered on top of a moisture-rich atmosphere. And that is the recipe that historically produces the kind of severe weather that goes well beyond a routine spring storm day. Now here is where the European model and the GFS are barely reading from the same playbook, and that disagreement matters a lot depending on where you live, because one version of this story has winter coming back with real consequences for the Great Lakes, Midwest and Northeast, and the other version says spring locks in and stays locked in. The European says winter is not finished. It is showing that big 10-day storm system arriving around March 10th to 15th. Producing a clash where Arctic air pushes south from Canada into the extreme warmth and humidity that has been building all week, and depending on how that system evolves. You can see severe weather on the warm southern flank and legitimate winter weather on the cold northern backside at the same time. The GFS says not so fast. It also shows a significant system in that time frame, but keeps the warm air more dominant, limits the winter weather component, and actually shows an equal or stronger severe weather signal pushing through the Ohio Valley and into the Carolinas, so the GFS version of mid-March is less about snow and more about continued severe weather for a bigger footprint of the country. The honest answer to will winter come back in C is this probably not in a major way for most people, but do not count it out completely. Forecasters are pretty clear that around the 13th, 14th or 15th of March, there is a real shot of cold air returning. It would not be the Arctic blasts of January and February, but it could absolutely bring snow back to parts of the Midwest, the plains, and potentially the Northeast. And here is the one thing both models agree on completely between now and that potential mid-March cold. There is a stretch of genuinely fantastic weather coming for the eastern half of the country. 30 degrees above average through the heart of the Ohio Valley. By Friday, temperatures that are going to feel absolutely wonderful after the wintry mess that is hitting this morning, and that warmth is real. It is confirmed, and it is coming. That coming warmth means Nashville is pushing toward 75 degrees Fahrenheit by the weekend, Atlanta into the upper 70s, Charlotte into the low 70s, New York City potentially into the mid to upper 60s by early next week. And here is the wrinkle. The European model is specifically flagging that warm air actually intensifies even further, right out ahead of the incoming cold front before it collapses warmest. Just before it gets coldest is exactly the kind of whiplash that catches people flat-footed. Fairbanks, Alaska at negative 40 degrees. Fahrenheit Fargo, North Dakota at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, Minneapolis at 30 degrees Fahrenheit with snow, and then you cross an invisible line and find Austin. Texas sitting at 76 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and Denver at a jaw-dropping 69 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit on the exact same Tuesday morning that 125 degree spread from Alaska to Texas is the entire story of why this week cannot make up its mind between snowstorm and tornado outbreak, depending on where you are standing. And one thing worth stepping outside for tonight, it is the total lunar eclipse on March 3rd, visible from New York, Boston, Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, and Miami. The East Coast catches the opening phase before moonset. The West and mountain regions get the full show, and the irony is that the areas dealing with the worst weather tonight are the ones that would love to be looking up at the sky instead. Wichita at 60 degrees Fahrenheit today. Topeka, mild Kansas City at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and all three of those cities are right in the zone where the Friday low pressure track becomes the deciding variable. Slightly more southern track means severe weather. Slightly more northern track means you get the snowy backside, and the models are still actively fighting over that track right now. Which means the answer to what Friday looks like in Wichita genuinely changes from run to run. Oklahoma City, Norman, and Tulsa, 3 storm systems in 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday all stacked up on your doorstep. And the thing that catches people off guard in a multi-day sequence like this is the cumulative fatigue of it, where you get through the first 2 days and let your guard down right before the third one turns out to be the biggest. Do not let Wednesday or Thursday give you a false sense of having already seen the worst. If you are in Phoenix at 78 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny, or Miami at 77 degrees Fahrenheit and gorgeous, or Los Angeles at 64 to 71 degrees Fahrenheit and having a perfectly pleasant Tuesday this week might feel like it has nothing to do with you. But somebody you know in Dallas or Fort Smith or Columbus is watching this forecast very closely right now, and sharing this video with them today gives them 24 hours of advance notice that could genuinely matter. Before we wrap up, we specifically want to hear from the areas that national forecasts tend to skip right over: Missouri Ozarks, rural Arkansas, the Texas Panhandle, eastern Oklahoma, western Pennsylvania, southern Indiana, the Kentucky Bluegrass region. Drop your city in the comments and tell us what the ground looks like right now. Creek levels, road conditions, how saturated things already feel that local intel helps us pinpoint the most vulnerable areas for tomorrow's coverage. Here is what is riding on tonight's model. Runs the overnight data dropping in the next few hours is going to sharpen or shift the Wednesday severe weather corridor. And it is going to give us the first real look at whether Friday is tracking toward that enhanced risk upgrade or holding at slight risk. And those two questions together affect the severe weather picture for somewhere north of 40 million people across the central U.S. Tonight's runs are also going to start building or weakening the March 10th outbreak signal right now that probability sits at 15 to 20%, which sounds modest until you understand that every major tornado outbreak in recent history started as a 15 to 20% signal about a week out. And if the GFS and Europeans start converging on the same solution for March 10th, that number moves fast in one direction. The bottom line for this week: don't be scared. Be squared away. Winter is making one last scene this morning across the Northeast. Severe weather kicks in Wednesday and runs through the weekend. Flooding is the underdog threat that could end up being the most impactful story of all. Keep those county-level alerts on with the volume actually up. Check your creek levels before Wave 1 hits, and we will see you tomorrow morning with the sharpest picture yet of what this week is really going to deliver.